Hey, what is up, guys? It is Slick, or Slickmoff here, back again with another video. In this one, we'll be talking about everything we know about the newly revealed Guardians of the Galaxy video game, which, get this, the best part, it comes out in only 4 months. It is the only superhero video game that is coming out this year, with Gotham Knights being delayed and everything else that sort of transpired in the past 12 months with COVID, delaying a number of games. This is really one of the highlights of our year, I think, as gamers, whether that be superhero video game fans or video game fans more broadly. So in this interview here with IGN, they interviewed the game devs, and this is a great high-level overview of the branching narrative system being borrowed from Telltale Games here, or Mass Effect. So there's information on that. There's information on the villains, and we got some great screenshots as well. It includes some of the gameplay components where you can command your fellow Guardians of the Galaxy to do as you wish. Skins, information. So there's all sorts of stuff we're going to delve into here. I'm going to just read the whole article for you and give you my thoughts as we go along. But broadly speaking, this is going to be less about my opinion and more about the information of what actually we learned about this game today. So obviously the game dropped, first trailer ever, 4 months out. So there's going to be a heavy drop of information and gameplay from now until October when the game comes out. So super, super excited. And the fact that they are coming out with that October release date 4 months in advance means the game is probably pretty close to going gold, and that we're going to see this game without a delay. So that's very exciting. All right, let's delve right into it here. And again, this article from IGN is titled, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy makes you the Star-Lord of the show. Ha ha ha. Get it? Lord. Okay, never mind. All right, IGN, not known for their comedy. The newly announced Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy video game from Deus Ex developer Eidos Montreal and Square Enix puts you in charge of Marvel's cosmic band of a-holes. It's a single-player, third-person action-adventure game due out on October 26th for PlayStation 4, PlayStation 5, Xbox One, and PC. That's my first main note. You will know it is on all consoles, including Series X. Actually, why didn't he list Series X? That is weird. It's out on Series X too. It's on all the next-gen consoles. So it's on Series X, PS4, PS5, Xbox One, PC, etc. Yeah, I just confirmed. It's on the new Xbox as well. Okay, the game follows the Guardians on a space-faring quest to fix a galactic mess of their own making. We're going to recap everything we learned from the game reveal presentation and share what we picked up from our interview with the developers. If you haven't already seen the trailer, check the link below. I assume you guys have all seen it. Let's go deeper in here. Play as Star-Lord, command the Guardians. The player controls Star-Lord. This is an important distinction. This is not like Gotham Knights where you can switch between the 4 characters. You are playing Star-Lord exclusively in this game. You command the other members of the Guardians, but you do not control them. So you're given access to his gadgets, jet boots, elemental guns, etc. Excuse me. That's right, Peter Quill's extensive musical knowledge factors into the game. After building a meter by engaging in combat and using a wide variety of attacks, Quill can call a team huddle and choose a song to inspire them in combat, enhancing the groups with various boosts and a glowing effect of energy. It's reminiscent of the opening battle in Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, where the heroes jammed out to ELO's Mr. Blue Sky while slaying a slimy alien beast. So that's an interesting sort of ultimate move where you can inspire and strengthen your allies, and you play this like song as the component to facilitate that. So it's kind of like your ultimate or your bonus ability, whatever you want to call it. The other Guardians, Drax, Gamora, and Rocket and Groot, follow Star-Lord around to engage in quippy banter and assist in combat. They are not directly controllable like Quill. Rather, Quill gives them commands to unleash different attacks. Drax is a powerful brawler. Gamora is a quick, high-damage assassin. Rocket does AoE damage with all manner, for those of you, AoE is like area of effect damage is what it stands for, so like explosion damage, etc. With all manner of guns and bombs, and Groot is a protective tank of the group. In a sample of gameplay footage, different abilities were combined together to devastating effects, such as freezing a slime enemy with Quill's elemental guns and smashing it to pieces with Drax. So certainly this will be a collaborative game insofar as your AI allies help you in combat, which is fun, but you don't actually control them, which to me is not really an issue, but I think a lot of people will probably not be thrilled with that. But the other option is you have playable components for every single character, and then you just have Marvel Avengers again. Which was a disaster. So I actually, honestly, quite like this direction that they're going here. Eidos Montreal senior designer Patrick Fortier explains why they made Star-Lord the sole playable character, as opposed to giving the option to switch between the Guardians. He says, one of the things we asked was, well, what if we experienced teamwork from the inside, from controlling one character? In real life, it's kind of like that. When we work on our creative team, sometimes we don't agree. Sometimes we're in a bad mood one day, or we're very adamant about a certain thing, or we're very passionate about it, and you have to navigate those waters. That's the kind of teamwork that most people... I scrolled, I lost my spot. That's the kind of teamwork that most people know in real life. Fortier said, "We thought, well, that hasn't really been explored very much in video games. If we're going to go and give room for these characters to get fleshed out in a narrative-driven action-adventure game where the psychology and the personality of the characters really comes through, this is probably a really interesting way to go about it." So as he kind of explained here, this is more about your collaboration with AI allies, but it's not really in a bad way. It's kind of interesting. It's kind of combining some RTS components where you're sort of controlling your troops and you're commanding them. Not as directly as you would in an RTS game, obviously, but more in like, hey, you come over here, do this thing, do this ability. You can have your allies attack a certain target, that sort of thing. So it's kind of borrowing a little bit from what make RTS games cool, but not going all the way there, since this is still hanging on to the action RPG roots here. Choices. How the story unfolds will generally be the same for all players, but how you get from beginning to end will differ depending upon the decisions that you make. You'll be given small choices, such as choosing a side in a team argument, as well as big ones, like deciding which of your teammates to sell off in order to hoodwink Lady Hellbender. The story will unfold differently depending on which route you go. Really cool. Love this, especially if they overcome the fatal flaw of every Telltale game, which was what? The choices didn't matter. At the end of the day, you get to the end of the game, it's the same shit. I hope that they change that and that these choices do have lasting implications in the story, and it really matters, because that's what makes games with choices fun. I think with Telltale, one of the reasons they fell off so quickly is that after a few games, people learned that the choices didn't actually impact the story. And when you first play through the game, you have no idea. But then once you start watching cutscenes online and you're like, oh, okay, it's not actually that much different, then it sort of loses its luster a little bit. So that's why really Telltale, they did The Walking Dead, Wolf Among Us, maybe one or two others. And then after that, it was all downhill. I would say Batman is probably in their top 4 games. But broadly speaking, their sort of gimmick, I guess you could say, sort of got old pretty quickly. But all in all, I love Telltale games. They're one of my favorite game developers of all time, and The Walking Dead Season 1 is my favorite video game of all time. But just something to consider as they're crafting this story. Hopefully that is these choices really impact things. Developer Eidos Montreal made its name with Deus Ex, and fans of those games will be pleased to hear that they were a big influence on the design of Guardians of the Galaxy. They said, "We drew from the Deus Ex games because in the storylines that we're developing for the games we're making, we like to engage players in the storytelling. When I say that, I mean engage them in decisions that will have an impact on them, and they will have to discover different outcomes or adapt to certain scenarios." Eidos Montreal Senior Creative Director John Francois Dugas told IGN in an interview. So I love to hear that. I love the idea of these choices mattering. That's going to make the story really, really fun. Can't wait for that. And in case you were wondering, the developers confirmed Guardians of the Galaxy takes place in its own world, completely separate from Marvel games like Spider-Man and Avengers. So even though this is the second installment in this sort of arrangement that they have with Square Enix, this is totally separate from Avengers, which is cool. So that gives them a lot of freedom of including Spider-Man or the Avengers if they want to, because they're not tied to the previous iterations and interpretations of those characters. Next, on the villains front, signature Guardians of the Galaxy baddies like Ronan the Accuser and Ego, the Living Planet, are nowhere to be found in the gameplay footage, at least so far. Instead, the initial antagonist of the storyline is Lady Hellbender, a relatively new Marvel Comics character who first debuted in 2015's Totally Awesome Hulk #1, created by Greg Pak and Frank Cho. In the comics, she tracks down rare monsters to bring them back to her sanctuary. She's often seen with her 2 enforcers, Gnasher and Gasher, and flying in her flagship, the Destromundo, that houses her monster menagerie? Whatever. So, yeah, I mean, a relatively new villain they're rolling with here, created in 2015, first debuted in 2015. That is a new villain if I have ever seen it. That is a very, very young villain. Even the Court of Owls are older than that. Okay. In the game, the Guardians are tasked with hunting down a rare monster for Lady Hellbender. She can be glimpsed in the footage wielding her signature spiked club and making menacing threats at the Guardians. We also see Star-Lord narrowly escaping the red-skinned alien duo known as the Blood Brothers, probably acting as Lady Hellbender's muscle. As for the Marvel villains popping up, Dugas said they dove into 80 years of Marvel comic books to find the right bad guys to use, promising both obscure and well-known characters. So that's obviously exciting if we can loop in some really famous and iconic Marvel villains and heroes that will make the game even more fun, especially with that choice component there. Guardians of the Galaxy announcement trailer and screenshots. We can scroll through a couple of these here. Game looks really good. Great color vibrancy. Interesting art design. It is basically a scaled up version of a Telltale game in terms of the graphics, not on the level of, say, Arkham Knight, in terms of, graphic fidelity or that sort of thing, but certainly not very cartoon, not overly cartoony. The animations are fairly photorealistic. You can see with Star-Lord and everything. Drax looks good. Nice gameplay here. Looks like you have dual control of your blasters. Outer space footage here with Groot. So, all in all, did I say Groot? I meant Rocket Racoon. Sorry. A couple more here. There's Hellbender. Huh. So there you have it. On the images front, let's scroll down here. Recruiting other Guardians. In the E3 footage for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy, Mantis and Cosmo make brief appearances. We just saw Mantis a little bit earlier, towards the end of those pictures. Will these other Guardians be able to join Star-Lord's roster of supporting characters? That remains to be seen, but the developer didn't rule it out. You have to play the game to discover that. So maybe you can swap people out or add people in. That would be really cool, and especially if each, let's say Mantis has different strengths or weaknesses than another character, you could control them for your next battle. That would be very interesting. Skins and extras at no extra cost. According to the developers, Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy will have various rewards, including skins, that will all be unlockable in-game. There will be no microtransactions. So this is going to be one of the rare games where you actually level up and grind to get the gear that you want. So you can't just buy it. You can't just pay an extra fucking double the amount that you pay to get whatever you want in the game. You have to actually play it and achieve it, much like you did back in, pretty much every game made before 2011, basically. It was around 2013, I want to say, really around the new gen consoles when they started implementing all this microtransaction crap. I mean, sure, Call of Duties would have a season pass, but it wouldn't be like in order to get the gold camo, you have to pay for it, or in order to get this character to play, like in Rainbow Six, you need to pay us money. It wasn't anything like that. So this is going to be a truly unique system here where there are no microtransactions. That is cool. That's different. For more news from E3, check out IGN's E3 schedule. So guys, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to give it a thumbs up. Are you excited for Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy dropping in just 4 months? 4 months until we get a brand new AAA superhero video game, AAA RPG action adventure. Marvel superhero video game. This looks a lot better than Avengers. Super excited for it. Love the branching story. We missed that from Marvel's Avengers. It really should have had it. This is from a reputable developer, Deus Ex. Fantastic game series. All in all, guys, super excited. Everything I'm seeing here looks great, and I can't wait to play it. Thank you guys for tuning in. See you guys in the next video. Peace out.